If the dark corners of the mind fascinate you, if the line between truth and madness keeps you awake at night, you've found your home. I tell stories that haunt, twist, and linger long after the lights go out. Welcome to the edge of reality. I'm Lucian Graves, and I will guide you into the shadows. Everything that you see here is all done one take, unedited, raw, straight from the heart. Today's story will surely, hopefully, set the pace for many, 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 many chapters to go. The night kept coming back to me like a film reel, with a stuck splice replaying until the edges of it burned into my eyes. I wake in a sweat, hospital sheets wound tight around my legs like a noose. For a second, my breath is easy. The room is a spring. Sunlight in the window, birds arguing outside, the faint sugar smell of cake. For a second, there is a hand in mine, a small hand. I learned to read like a weather map, a laugh that belonged only to her. Then the reel skips, the laugh thins, hand goes cold. People say grief is a quiet thing. Mine is loud. It sits up in the dark and races me, points at me, and laughs. It feeds on memory until what's left of me is a shadow that knows too much and nothing at all. They called it an accident at first, a fall, an unfortunate sequence of events, paperwork, a name reduced to a neat black type. My daughter Mia, gone. My voice in the hallway when they told me a cracked radio playing through a storm. We're sorry, they said. There's an ongoing investigation. It felt like somebody had just told me I can't have the sky anymore. But there are things facts can't take away. The bruises that looked like constellations across her skin, the way her neck smelled of cigarettes and something sweet, the candy she used to hide in her pockets, the, the way one of her wrists bent in a way that a human body should not allow. Truth is a slippery thing, but it slides better over the body than it does over the law. They told me not to talk. They told me to rest. It was the sort of advice people offer before they leave the room entirely. So I did what people like me do when the world tries to quiet us. I listened in the dark. At the night at night the city leaks a different sound. The emergency sirens are a faraway orchestra. The refrigerator hums like an accusation. I learned the rhythm of the building when Mrs. Cora upstairs shoveled her pills. When the elevator coughed, someone came in late and slammed a door hard enough to wake the neighbor. Once the building hummed, someone laughed with the wrong kind of joy, the sort of laugh that slides under the skin and just says hello. After she died, I started to dream kind things, not healing. Those dreams were thin and cruel. Instead, I dreamed of what might have been a wedding in the park with sunlight so stubborn it covered everything. Her in a dress that wasn't mine to imagine. Birds of all cinematic things filming the sky like a promise. I woke to a dull roar of the street lamps. I would fold my hands and I would pray in a language my tongue had forgotten. God, take it back. Just give it back to me. Revenge isn't a plan, not at first. It's a small animal you feed without thinking at night. It grows in the dark pantry of your skull. It learns your footsteps. It learns your face in the mirror. At daybreak it sits on your shoulders and tells you which door to knock on. There was a name in the edges of everything, a man they called Daniel, a clean-cut boyfriend, a man with a smile trained to open wallets and trust. People tell you to trust their instincts. I took mine like a weapon. Daniel said all the right things. He knew how to hold a hand. He knew how to do it so that it didn't tremble. He promised apartments and rings and life arranged in tidy boxes. He promised the sky. When I finally saw him at a coffee shop that still had the steam on the windows, he looked smaller than I imagined. Ordinary in a way knives look ordinary when they have been sheathed. He asked how I was. I told him I was learning the language of being hollow. He sipped his coffee and he said, "It's terrible what happened." There was something like pity in his eyes and an urge to smile like a man who had rehearsed sadness for a role. He lied. He lied like an artist. I began to watch him, not in a way that made me proud. You don't get points for staying awake in the dark and counting the lights in his apartment, but the way that felt necessary. He moved through the city like a secret kept in daylight. He had friends who never asked where he had been. He had a mother who cried big theatrical tears in the police station and could make the full room make the room full of people feel small. I kept notes, I kept receipts, I kept the night he failed to keep the story straight like petals pressed into the pages of a book. Evidence is not always neat. It comes in smells, in gestures, in the way refugee bags were tucked into the back of his closet that smelled faintly of Mia's perfume. A photograph, a message thread, saved as a file, little things that remember the truth when people forget. I built a case out of memory because the system is a machine that will grind away that which cannot be proved. People called it obsession. Friends left. The detective with the tired eyes told me to let the lab do its job. The city moved on because it always does. It folds the dead in paper and whispers next. I started to believe I was the only one who remembered her laughter. Revenge, when you let it live in you like a patient animal, alters your mouth. It changes how you speak. It changes the way the lights fall on your face. I thought for a while that doing something, anything, might stitch the wound. That maybe the wound was less about the blood and more about the narrative. If I could change the story, maybe perhaps the pain would be less honest. The night I decided the world made the right would be made right by my hands, I didn't dress like a monster. I wore a uniform of ordinary revenge, a jacket, a cap, pockets lined with things that made noise, the things that could be quiet. I walked to his door with weather in my lungs and the weight of every sleepless night on my shoulders. The city watched me pass, indifferent as always. He opened the door like you open a window to let in the fresh air. He saw me, and recognition passed over his face like sunlight. There was a fear there, blue, quick, and then something softer, pleading. And I felt as I were putting a hand over the wound that would never close by itself. Words are weapons too. I told him everything I kept, the impressions, the receipts, the way she laughed in photographs that had his shadows in the corner. I asked him why. He answered with the small voice of someone who believes himself innocent because he has convinced the world of his righteousness. He said something about misunderstanding, about mistakes. He promised again the same promises that sounded cinematic in the happier scenes. Promises are made to be broken. That is also the thing people say. But promises that come with empty hands cut deeper than knives. I didn't plan to pull the trigger at first. I planned to hold him like a confession. and let the truth exist between us, but grief is a short fuse. It lights events that used to be calm. It rewires muscles in your hands. It teaches you what you can do when you can stop apologizing to the world. When I left his apartment, the city was a smear yellow of green lights. Some part of me expected the law to stop in, to lift me and carry me to the place where they would say I had done the right thing. The world is not a moral ledger; it is an uneven mirror. In the dark, in the days that followed, I did not sleep so much as I did not sleep so much as I slept walk. The neighbors watched. The neighbors called the police when the hysteria grew too loud. They asked questions. Did you do it? People like to speak in absolutes. The truth sits in corners, patient and mute. I thought of turning myself in. I thought of walking into the station and letting my name become headline. Sometimes I almost did. Sometimes I put my hand on the door and I turned away because the idea of the cell was easier than the emptiness of a life without her. When you live at the border between memory and madness, you find ways to blend the two. I built altars out of small things: a napkin with her lipstick, a ribbon, a ticket stub from a concert she wanted to see. I told her stories when the world was quiet, as if my voice could hear her in the room. Sometimes this is the part I confess, with a raw honesty that tastes like metal. I dreamed him sparing me a look I could call repentance. Other times I dreamed him the way he'd been the last week, all charm and knives. There are nights I think of the letter I will write one day, if I am ever brave enough to fold my grief into paper. It will not be an apology, and it will not be an admission of guilt in the way the world understands it. It will be a map of a man who lost a daughter and learned too late how much of himself was borrowed from her. The film skips, the reel burns, somewhere the rain begins to fall, and the city smells like closed things opening. I hold the thing I have left, a photograph, the edges blurred by my thumb, and I tell it what I did and what I didn't, as if a confession might rearrange the bones of the past. Mia once told me I can't fix a broken thing by breaking something else. I used to think she was too young to be so wise. I am older now, and the line sits in my mouth like an accusation. I don't expect absolution. I don't want it. I want the truth to sit in the lap of the world and for the world to know the shape of it. If this is a confession, let it be honest. Love can become a weapon. Grief can become armor. And while the law may draw its bright, clean lines, there are human things that are messy and dark and do not fit into boxes. Outside a train moans and the lights of the city unspool like thread. Somewhere a dog barks and the sound is tender and useless. I fold the photograph and tuck it into my pocket. The night is long, the film still rolling. I am watching it. I am part of it, and somewhere between the dream and waking, between the promise and the lie, I think I can hear her laughter, not gone but altered, and I wonder if it is forgiveness or simply a memory insisting on a presence that will not be erased. The door closed behind me with a click that sounded like a gunshot. Daniel's apartment was still warm with his breath, with the stale scent of coffee and cigarettes that hung in curtains. I stood in the hallway, hand trembling in my pocket, clutching something that was either proof or damnation. The strange thing about violence is that it's quiet when you expect thunder. You think the world will split in half if you take a life, but the ceiling doesn't crack and the stars don't fall. Silence afterwards is the worse than the act itself, if the act even happened. I can't remember, or maybe I refuse to. There are fragments, the flash of his teeth when he smiled nervously, the plea that hung in the air like a child's prayer, the weight of something in my hands. Was it the gun, or was it just grief pressing itself into my palms? Then a noise, a gurgle, a sob, or was it the radiator coughing? When I try to reconstruct it, the film reel burns again, the scene folds into itself. Sometimes he's dead on the floor, his throat carved open like broken promises. Sometimes he's alive, smirking, sipping coffee, mocking me with the ease of somebody who knows the law protects him. Both versions feel real. Both versions feel true. Both versions gnaw at me. I walked the city after that, but the city walked me. I stumbled into the alleys where the brick walls seemed to lean in closer to listen. A billboard glared at me with her eyes. A busker plucked a guitar string. I swore it was her laugh, sharp and bright, rising above the traffic. At every step I asked myself, did I do it? The world didn't answer. The world doesn't care. The police haven't come for me yet. Not yet. That means either I imagined it or Daniel is too clever to be found. Or maybe he's already buried beneath the silence so deep the city itself conspired to hide it. I keep walking waiting for the knock at the door. The heavy boots, the handcuffs, nothing. Just my own breath rattled like bones. Last night, I dreamed of her again. Mia. She was in her wedding dress, the veil thin as a spiderweb, her face pale but glowing. She reached for me. When I touched her hand, it turned cold and wet. And when I pulled back, blood slicked my palm behind her. Daniel stood in the aisle, smiling like a priest, mouthing the words I can't hear. She turned to him. She chose him. I woke screaming, convinced I'd killed them both somehow. I don't trust my own mind anymore. I started writing notes to myself. Small scraps of paper hidden in my apartment, each one a reminder of what's real. You're alive. She's dead. You're not in prison. Daniel breathes, or doesn't. I remember them over and over, but the words blur until they might as well just be lies. Sometimes I swear I hear him. Daniel in the vents, in the pipes, in the walls. He whispers the same thing over and over. I'm not real. I'm a murderer. Other times I hear Mia begging me not to become him. So I sit at the table with a gun. It's clean now. It's polished, the metal gleaming under the kitchen light. I study the way some people study scripture. I ask questions. Did you fire? Did you sing for me that night? Or are you still waiting? No answer. Guns are honest things too. Honest. They never tell you what you want to happen. Yesterday I followed Daniel again, or maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was just a man with his build, his gait, his smirk. He walked into a diner, ordered eggs, laughed with the waitress. I pressed my face against the glass like a starving man outside a feast. If that was him, then I didn't kill him. If that wasn't him, then I'm haunting strangers for no reason. And yet, when I looked down, my hands were red, blood, or just the reflection of neon. I ran before anyone could see. The mind is a cruel theater. It screens double features, one reel where I slit his throat and watched his life drain into the carpet, one reel where he's still out there smiling at women, promising them the world. I don't know which one the ticket stub in my pocket belongs to. What I do know is this: if he's alive, I will finish it. If he's dead, I will deny it. Either way, my life belongs to her. And tonight, I'm standing at his door again. My shadow stretches long down the hall. The key I don't remember stealing is cold in my hand. In my hand. Inside, silence breathes. I can hear water drip. A clock ticks. My heart sinks to it. Each beat a hammer strike. I push the key into the lock. The door creaks open. The smell hits me. Metallic, sharp, clinging blood, or maybe it's just rust. The carpet beneath my shoe crunches just faintly. I can't tell if it's broken glass or bones or just my nerves. The apartment is dim, the curtains are drawn. Shapes loom in the dark, a chair, a table, a body. I step closer, the shadows twist like film unraveling. On the floor is something, a stain, a smear, red or black. Then I hear it, a cough, wet, human, alive. Please, a voice whispers. My knees buckle, my throat grows dry. It's Daniel, or it's no one, or it's me. I reach into my jacket. The gun slides into my hand as if it always has belonged there. The weight of it familiar, almost comforting. I raise it. The barrel gleams in the dark. Daniel, if it's him, stares at me wide-eyed, mouth open, and a soundless scream. The clock ticks, my finger tightens, the film skips. White lights flood the reel, and then the barrel quivers in my hand. Sweat runs down my wrist, stinging like salt in an open wound. The apartment is too quiet, too still, as though the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for me to decide which reality it will keep. Daniel is on the floor, or maybe he isn't. The outline shifts like smoke. One man, 1 second, a shadow in the next. His eyes, his eyes glimmer, wide and wet, pleading, please. He whispers again, though the sound is strange, distorted, like it's traveling through water. Behind him, in the corner of the room, I see her, Mia, white dress glowing faintly, veil trailing into the shadows. She's standing too still, her face unreadable. Her lips don't move, but I hear her voice anyway. Daddy, stop. The gun feels heavier. My fingers twitch. Against the trigger, the steel humming like a live wire. No, I whisper back. My throat goes raw. I'm doing this for you. No, she says again. Softer this time. Almost, almost kind. Or maybe it's Daniel's voice mocking me, blending with hers. The two threads knot together until I can't tell which plea belongs to which ghost. The clock ticks. Each second drills into my skull. I blink and suddenly he's not pleading anymore. He's smiling, the same rehearsed, smug grin that's burned into me. His lips curl around words I can't hear. But I know what they are. You'll never prove it. You'll never win. My pulse roars. My hands shake. The trigger presses back against me, daring me. Then I hear it, a laugh, hers. Bright and sharp, just as I remember. For one fractured instant, the room is springtime again. The veil lifts. The sun is glowing. She's alive. She's alive. The image splits, shatters. My eyes burn. The apartment snaps back into the shadows. The gun is steady now. My breath hitches. I squeeze, or maybe I don't. A flash erupts, or the light bulb pops, or maybe it's one of those white fire behind my eyelids as they slam shut. The sound crashes in, a scream, a gunshot. The shatter of glass or nothing at all. The silence thick enough to choke on. When I open my eyes, the room is empty. No Daniel, no body, no blood. Only the chair, the table, the stain on the carpet that might be wine, might be rust, might be something worse. The clock ticks on, obvious. I lower the gun. My hands are clean. Or maybe they aren't. I can't tell anymore. Somewhere far off, sirens rise and fall, coming closer, or maybe they're just in my head. I look to the corner. She's gone. The reel burns through. The film goes white. And all I'm left with is the question, did I save her memory or did I damn myself? The clock answers with another tick and nothing more.